Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to One Hub, season number 27 for round number 10 around the circuit of the Americas. My name is, of course, Jake. I'll taking you guys through this as always, and joined alongside me for this evening, Mr. Jamie Met 92. Jamie, how are you doing this evening?
Yeah, very good. Yeah, excited for this. And if there's anything like last week's race, we're in for a cracker.
We certainly will be in for a cracker. I said evening and realised that we're actually starting quite early. It is 4:30 in the UK, so it's not even really technically evening yet. So, yeah, good afternoon to everybody that is currently tuning into this one. As I say, we're starting a bit earlier just due to the fact that the real-life Formula 1 Grand Prix around the Circuit of the Americas will be on at 8 p.m. UK time, so in approximately 3.5 hours' time from this live stream going live. So, of course, as I say, we are here just a little bit earlier, which I'll be honest with you, I would actually kind of prefer some earlier starts because it gives me a nice little bit of time to chat in the evening. But again, just my opinion. But yeah, I say we're doing this just purely for this week and for next week's one at Mexico, just purely because, as obviously I say, that's the timings for the actual races themselves. It's just so we're not clashing with those. But yeah, I say we're here for round number 10. We are now into, or we've now gone 3/4 of the season. We're now into the final quarter of the season. 3 races left to go here, Jamie. And despite there still being 3 races left to go, there's still a 4-man championship battle going on.
Yeah, the race is quite incredible. And yeah, and obviously all them 4 protagonists were in the mix of it last week. And it's great to see. And Papa Squanch, where he took a much needed win last week. And it was good to see him back on the top step. And now Morgan, a bit of pressure in now. Now it's his turn to maybe try and turn the screw a little bit. 3 races to go. There's still 63 points to play for. So yeah, still some 3 or 4 guys still in it. It's great to see.
Yeah, it certainly is very good to see for sure. So, just in case you guys are unaware as to what the standings are at this current moment for the top 4, let's say Papa Squanch currently took the lead once again last week from Morgan. He is on 141 points to his name after taking that win out at Qatar. Morgan in second with 135 points to his name after taking a 3rd place last week out at Qatar. Now destroying his 4 race win streak. Was very close to making it 5, but Papa Squanch and Larkin took that one away from him for sure. Solau in 3rd with 119 points to his name, so a little bit further behind, so 22 points separating Papa Squanch and Solau. So about a race win, and Larkin in 4th with 103 points to his name. So 4 drivers all over the 100 point barrier. I know Larkin and Solau will probably be thinking it's a bit audacious to say that they're still within the championship fight, but they are still mathematically in that championship fight. It takes 1 DNF from both of the top 2 for something to, or for one of them to be able to, take or get themselves back within that championship fight for sure.
Yeah, definitely. He's got to just try and finish races. That's what we got to do, get points. And say they were all in top 4 last week. That's what we've got to do. You cannot afford any no scores or bad results. You just got to do your best you can. And these guys, you've got to get podium of the race, really, I think. See if I won bad race. Like Larkin had 2 bad races in a row before Qatar, and he's putting a bit further back than what we'd like. But you've just got to really focus and concentrate.
Sorry, apologies. Microphone is just deciding to not work properly. I hope that's all better now. So, like I was saying in the chat, that my voice might have been a bit crackly. So, hopefully, that's a lot better. But yeah, no, I was just saying, yeah, with his the 2 before that, Qatar finishing in 10th and 12th, getting involved in a few collisions at Singapore and at Monza as well. So, yeah, he's looking at no, not Monza. Sorry, Imola. Sorry. So he's looking to try and improve on those results. I mean, again, Circuit of the Americas I know is one that he can be particularly quick around. It's one of those tracks for him where it's it either goes very well for him or very bad for him. So hopefully for Larkin, it'll be on the earlier side of it goes very well for him, chucks himself back into that championship fight. But I've seen the pace of what Papa Squanch, Solau and Morgan are all like around here. And yeah, I expect those guys to be on par and, be classing ahead of the field. However, I say that The guys that come up from P3 a couple of weeks ago, Jamie, they are surprisingly on pace with the top
Yeah,
guys in the P2 tier.
yeah. Jacob last week in Qatar was right with the front runners, and we had Zontal in Singapore getting a second place ahead of Papa Squanch, and Kine showed a good pace, had the fast lap inside top 10 last week. So yeah, they're all doing a great job. Obviously, Berjak's not here again tonight, but he had some decent pace as well in Singapore. So yeah, they're all doing a great job, and it's great to see, and it's added a bit more fire to the front. It's added a couple more guys to that front field of of these guys, and they're potential spoilers for the championship contenders who won't have it all their own way for sure with these guys now in the P2 tier.
Yeah, it certainly is. So, yeah, as you probably just heard in the background, we are currently underway in qualifying, so we'll go to that in just a short moment. Just before we do, quickly run through the rest of the standings. So, FaZe currently sitting in fifth with 64 points to his name after picking up a disappointing 12th place. Past two races for FaZe, not exactly being the best for himself, so looking to try and get a bit of redemption here around the circuit of the Americas. Rich in sixth with 63 points, so a nice little juicy battle for fifth place between those two. Mikey in seventh with 49 points to his name. Jess in eighth with 39 points to her name. Moqui in ninth with 35, and Cam, despite only joining after in the fifth round of the season, sitting in 10th position in the standings and keeping it nice and consistent towards sort of like the lower end of the top 10, but he's managed to put himself up into the top 10 in the standings. And in terms of the carware side of things for this evening, as you can see on your screen, there's a few guys that are starting to get into the red Papa Squanch in particular with his gearbox. And I'm just going to have a quick look. I don't believe he has taken a gearbox penalty for this evening. No, he hasn't. So, yeah, Papa Squanch definitely at the next race at Mexico is going to need to take a gearbox penalty. Otherwise, when it gets to Brazil for that last race of the season, which could be very championship defining, may end up getting disqualified due to the fact of not having enough laps left on his gearbox.
Yeah, that is a concern for him. And yeah, I just said this track would have been a good track to use an edge penalty with that back straight, but because of the way for the race out, they're probably glad they didn't do it now. But yeah, Mexico's another good race to do it with the long back straight, and obviously I think there's a guarantee now it'll be dry for Mexico, so he'll be glad he didn't take it tonight.
Yeah, sadly, sadly for myself and probably for Larkin as well, there's not going to be any more wet races after tonight. As in case you missed the pre-race show earlier today, it is a wet to dry qualifying and a wet to dry race. Dry as usually will sort of come out anywhere between lap 16 to lap 20, I'd be expecting. So it's just keeping an eye out on that, and a couple of the practice sessions as well as P3 tier. It came from wet conditions to inters very quickly. So it's going to be the case of whether drivers are going to be starting on a set of the intermediates or if they're going to start on a set of the wets, take an early pit stop to cover it as one of their two, but then go very long on a set of inters to go to the dry tyres, which at that point you could end up potentially going into puncture territory if you're not careful with those rear tyres.
Yeah, definitely. That's why I started in this, because I was a bit wary of that risk. And yeah, I believe the race winner in P3 tier did start on the intermediates, so he probably was the quicker way yeah. So that's one to keep an eye out for. But as the first 2 or 3 laps on the inter won't be that nice, but by around lap 4, lap 5, it tends to turn around. So it's just about survive first couple of laps. So if we do see that in the race tonight, expect to see them guys starting in to fall down the field rapidly in lap 1 and lap 2, but they will recover later on in the stint.
Yeah, you kind of have to sort of go backwards to go forwards, as weird as that's going to sound, but you kind of have to do that if you're going to start on a set of the inters for this evening. But yeah, I say in terms of gearbox and engine penalties, who will be taking them for this evening? Only 1 gearbox and 4 engine penalties for this evening. So the gearbox penalty will be for Richelieu in the Haas, and then the 4 engine penalties will be the 2 that jumped up from the P3 tier of Kinney and Mr. Zontal taking engine penalties, as well as the 2 Alpines, the Welsh duo of Ivory Mike and Welsh Benjamin, also taking engine penalties for this evening. So with Kinney and Mr. Zontal, I'd be expecting them to try and move their way through the field throughout this evening. I'd be quite intrigued to see if they would be able to get those or be able to make those positions up. But I mean, we've seen sort of within the P3 and in the P2 tier so far within the couple of races that they've been in here, Jamie. You know, they are capable of being able to overtake the majority of the field to try and catch up to the leaders.
Definitely.
So anything can
Yeah,
happen.
definitely. Yeah, definitely. They were definitely the top third pace-wise in this tier, and they definitely have got the capability to overtake. And obviously also with the changed weather, just throw up strategy options where you can gamble early on a set of slicks or go long. So that's another thing keeping an eye out for. So the opportunities to overtake, but it won't be as easy as it would have been a conventional dry race. But there's also lap one where there's lots of places in Kota where you can overtake without DRS. So especially like start at sector 3, that little section there is a good spot for racing. And yes, it'd be interesting to see. I'm looking forward to him to try and charge our way through the field.
Yeah, I certainly will. So, without further ado, let's get ourselves over into the qualifying part of the session. Of course, as you can see, most people out on a set of the intermediates due to the fact that it was absolutely trenching it down with rain. But it looks like already that rain has stopped with 10.5 minutes left to go. Solau currently sitting on the top step. He was having a few pedal issues previously, just before the session started, but luckily he's managed to get them sorted out. So he is currently sitting at the top of the timing sheet so far, with Moqui in second, quite interestingly enough. Larkin in third, and Welsh Benjamin sitting in fourth. I'm quite intrigued that one of the Alpines sitting right there as well, with Waze in fifth. So quite surprising with the guys that are currently sitting in the top 5 here, Jamie, with both Welsh Benjamin and Waze.
Yeah, it's good to see. Obviously, that may be due to track evolution, but yeah, it's good to see them up there for sure. And yeah, Wace has the potential to do good. He has just have pace, but he just gets involved in too many incidents. And that's what's cost him dear this season. And Benjamin, he's a solid midfield driver in this team. It's good to see him up there. And on board the race now, and the track looks bone dry. Well, not bone dry, but it looks dry. Raining for slicks, and all the guys are coming out on slicks now. Now this first one won't be the best run, but it'll be all about the final run with 2 minutes to go. And we're going to see, as DRS is now enabled, we're going to see an absolutely exciting quali session, like we did last week in Qatar, where the times just tumbled like a fruit machine.
Yeah, it certainly will be very interesting. As I say, 9.5 minutes now left to go of the qualifying session. I'm assuming literally by towards the end of said qualifying session, it will be completely bone dry, and we'll see the fastest times. I'm expecting a few of these guys in the P2T to get into the mid to low 32s for this evening, if it does get to those full dry conditions. I mean, DRS was just enabled, so I'll be expecting these times to just be constantly tumbling down within the next at least 5 minutes. And then when it gets to around the 3 minute mark, that's when we'll see a full-on one-shot qualifying with all of these guys. But Kota is one of those tracks where it's very easy to run yourself off of the road, especially with how long the actual runoff areas are around this circuit. You know, it's very easy to run yourself off the road. But let's go on board with one of the championship protagonists. Was leading the championship up until last week. Morgan currently going up in towards turn number 1, going down into second gear. A little bit of an oversteer moment mid-corner in turn 1. It's very tough due to the undulation as you're going up and braking in that uphill section. Now through the full S section, and Morgan, as I said, it is very easy to cut the corner, and he has already done that going through the S section. So yeah, already, as I say, even the championship leaders are really going to be struggling with a couple penalties for this evening, I reckon, here, Jamie.
Yeah, definitely. That's going to put pressure on his final run. He's got to get that out the window. But on board with his car there, the first sector didn't look at full grip yet. So maybe he got a bit caught out there by that. And you surely, unless he got enough fuel to go again, he'll surely come in now and just save himself for the final run. But yeah, not ideal there for Morgan. Not getting a reference lap time for which would have helped him on his final run, getting the reference time for his Delta.
Yeah, no, I agree. So we're right on board with Catherine. I think she will be the first one to complete a lap for this evening on the dry tyres, shall I say, around the circuit of the America. DRS now wide open for the McLaren driver. She makes her way down towards probably one of the heaviest braking zones on the circuit. Of course, after the long DRS straight, dipping it down into second as at the end of the second sector, 8 and a bit seconds up on time. Of course, Catherine did that time on a set of the intermediate tyres, so of course take that with a pinch of salt. We'll see what that time's going to be for Catherine at the end here as we're coming through the triple right-handers. Of course, only just stopped raining. Is it going to be flat out for Catherine? It looks like it is straight flat out, as Larkin in fact was the first one to complete a lap time, 34.0. Benjamin then jumps up ahead of him, sorry, as well as Mikey. So a few times already coming on the board. A few guys already in the 33s. Catherine being the next one as well.
Yeah, that's about a second, maybe. That's about a second off the pace I'm expecting from these guys. So yeah, the track is definitely getting to them, and it'll be peak conditions in a couple of minutes' time for sure.
Yeah, it certainly will be. So let's have a look and see who's going to be the next one across the line. Looks like it'll be one of the kick salvers of Kinney. So very quick in the qualifying as Mr. Zonto actually comes across the line. A 32.5 for Mr. Zonto and a 32.2 for Kinney. This is what I was talking about from the P2 here. Jess even goes up into third position at 32.8. So we're already seeing guys go into the 1 minute 32s. And we've still got 6 minutes left to go qualifying. I reckon here, Jamie, we might even see one of these drivers getting themselves into the 1 minute 31s.
Definitely. I think we will. If they're doing 0.2s already, the track's not fully dry. It's almost there, but not quite. They're definitely getting there. And it's interesting if Papa Squanch, he's 6 tenths off Kinney and only a couple of minutes quicker than Jess. I don't think Papa had the best of laps there. Maybe might be disappointed that effort as Morgan. Is he going again for another lap? Yes, he is about to come across the final corner now. What can he do? Can he put it in pole position? It's a valid lap this time. Through the last corner, what can he do? Across the line, and he's up to second place. 32.4.
Very good lap time from Morgan indeed, but Kinney, the one that took pole in Singapore, and then had unfortunately not picked a setup in Singapore. Of course, he's got an engine penalty for this evening, so he's going to want to try and qualify as high as he possibly can, as Cam making an improvement as well up into 6th position in the other McLarens. So we're now starting to see all of the times come on board for the guys on a set of dry tyres. Only 4 drivers didn't put a lap time on the board on a set of dries so far. Solal and Jacob, both of the Mercedes drivers, Ivan Mike and Sheck Ways, are the only 4 that haven't put themselves or done a dry lap time so far. I was quite surprised because I saw Jacob and Solal were on their were on laps as well, so they must have just made a bit of an invalidation. But very interesting, Kinney and Mr. Zonto, I say, coming up from the P3 tier here, Jamie. Very good lap times from the pair of them.
Yeah, definitely. That is quite amazing to see. And yeah, that's very competitive there, and that's not going to be great for champion contenders. Wanting a little private battle in front of these guys, obviously they're taking penalties, which would be good for them. But they're showing that pace in qualifying. They can easily make their way through the field, no doubt about that. Them sort of lap times, they'll easily side their way through this field.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I'll tell you what as well, Jess, very good qualifying for her so far, sitting in 5th position on 132.8. She has said that she is quite fond of this track, but in the rain, she reckons she's around P3 pace. So maybe a different story will be told when we actually come into the race for this one for sure. Mikey out on an outlap. I think one of the only drivers out on an outlappers. I think Sheck Ways actually just did another lap time. In fact, yeah, he did do a lap time and he's completely cutting the course, which you're not allowed to do. So Ways potentially getting himself a penalty as we've managed to catch all of that on stream, just completely cutting through the S section. Yeah, I think Stuart's definitely be having a look at that one straight after the race.
That's against rules. A few guys in the P1 tier have got done for that this season. He'll be getting a penalty. I'm not sure what the penalty is, but he'll be definitely getting a penalty from the stewards for next week's race. So yeah, not great to see there for Ironman. And despite all this, I don't think he will even get out anyway, because he's got a lot of the lap to do still. And if anything, that line there he's taken there isn't the quickest line at all. He'd be quicker just going around the track, I think. But anyway.
Yeah, he's just doing a bit of lawn mowing, very interestingly enough. And yeah, instead of cutting shapes, he's cutting grass.
And he's run out of fuel anyway, so I think he's done anyway, because he's run out of fuel anyway. So I think he's done anyway, because he's not going to get enough time to go out again.
So that was probably why he was cutting the course completely. So yeah, let's have a look then. Mikey's going to probably be doing his now last final lap of the session. We are waiting to see how much time is left, because it just says yellows in sector 1, sector 3 due to the fact that Waze has run out of fuel. Mikey though, getting caught by a whole barrage of traffic in towards turn 1. Unfortunately, was probably a little bit earlier, and I think a few of the guys that were coming out of the pits wasn't expecting Mikey to be on a lap this early on, but he is currently going through it at end of the first sector 5 and a bit tenths up on his time. Very good start in the first sector. It will go up ahead of at least Waze. if he manages to finish out the lap in the same fashion. I say a bit more traffic out in front for the Aston Martin. He's sitting down in 12th position at the moment. Again, Mikey, another one that can be quite consistent. Qualifying does tend to let him down, so let's see if he's able to improve that for this evening. Of course, I'd say 3 rounds left to go. Making his way now down towards the towards the very heavy braking zone at the hairpin, braking just between 150 and 100 meter board into second gear as he makes his way up towards the end of the second sector. He is 1 second up on his time, so he will at least be contending into the 32s with the likes of Jess and Cam, maybe even Papa Squanch as well, and that would be massive if Mikey is able to help out his teammate here as he's now making his way around the triple right-hand section in the final sector. A little bit of a squirm for the Aston Martin as he kept his overtake on. Hopefully that's not going to hinder his lap time. Again, another little squirm out of the penultimate corner up towards the final corner he comes though. Is he going to be able to get the power down quick enough? He certainly does. It's a 133.2. I think that end part there, the triple right-hander, he just lost so much time through that.
Yeah, the car was so on edge in that last sector, and he's 2 temps down on his sector on his previous lap there, 2.5 temps down. Yeah, I think the tyres may have overheated going that last few corners, because that car was lively as anything through them last few corners. It was so difficult to nail on a quali lap.
Yeah, it certainly was. So Mikey, 8th position is the best he's going to be so far. That make that down into 9th position. Solal manages to get a time on the board. Only 6th position though, and that is actually massive. That Solal is behind Jess, because that can help Larkin out massively in this championship. Everybody out on a lap currently, other than Waze, who is trying to still cut corners to get his way into the or to get a lap time on the board, but he's not going to be quick enough to get that done, as he's only just coming up to the triple rights now, and there's only 5 seconds left to go. So Waze not going to be able to get a lap time on the board, despite cutting absolutely every single corner possible. So everyone now going to be making their way up towards the checkered flag. The first driver to do so will be Richelieu in the Haas. Of course, he's got a gearbox penalty for this evening. Only a 5 grid place penalty, so he wants to try and qualify as high as he possibly can to minimise the damage of that gearbox penalty, as he's now making his way up towards the final corner at the very back of the dry tyres. Is he going to make that improvement? He certainly does, up into 11th, up ahead of Waze. So good lap time for the Haas there, Jamie. few other guys now making their way up towards the line. You've got the likes of Mikey made another improvement on his time, 133.2, as Kinney into the 131s. He's managed to get himself into that 1 minute 31 second. Very, very quick lap indeed. Jacob made an improvement up into 8th, not at best in his teammate. Mr. Zontal jumps up ahead of the championship protagonist. Morgan in 3rd, Mr. Zontal in 2nd. Papa Squanch is coming around the final corner. He's going to look to try and jump up ahead of Morgan, and he certainly does. It goes advantage of Papa Squanch. Jess is coming up towards the line now. She's making an improvement, but doesn't manage to improve at the end of that. Larkin all the way down in 16th position. So championship is now starting to really fade away for the Red Bull man there, Jamie.
Yeah, he invalidated a 32.5 out, which put him right up there. And also Morgan invalidated a 31.9. So 2 costly errors there from both champion contenders. And we've got Kinney on. He's going to take credit for position there. And yeah, that's quite amazing. We've got Kinney on pole, Zontal 2nd, Papa Squanch in 3rd, Morgan 4th, Rich 5th, Jess 6th, Catherine 7th, Salo in 8th, Jacob 9th, Cam in 10th, Benjamin 11th, Woki in 12th, Mikey 13th, Richelieu 14th, Waze in 15th, Larkin in 16th, and Ivory Mike in 17th, who failed to set a time.
Kinney just saying in the chat, good old Turkish Airlines. So yeah, it was a very, very impressive qualifying for sure, with the 2 guys, I say, moving up from the P3 tier. All credit to them for that qualifying session. But unfortunately, obviously, they got their engine penalty, so they will be starting in 11th and 12th position at the very best. So yeah, very, very impactful qualifying session. Qualifying session there, Jamie. I say, both Kinney and Mr. Zontal, top 2. Fair play.
Yeah.
Morgan, again, slightly disappointing, I've got to say. As you say, 31.9 was there on for him. Papa Squanch took advantage of that, is now going to be starting on pole position. Morgan will stay in 2nd. But Larkin, again, I can't lie, it's a very disappointing qualifying session for him.
Yeah, qualifying just isn't going for him this season. He's just nowhere in qualifying. That is costing him big time because his race pace is great. Like his race pace is he's right there with them front guys. But if you're qualifying outside top 10 like he is a lot this season, he's just not good for him. And yeah, he's going to have a really difficult race. I know he loves the wet race, and we know how good he was overtaking Qatar, but he has got a lot of overtaking to do. And it's going to be very difficult for him because he would have fancied his chance, I think, going into this race tonight if he had a decent good slot, but starting at the back, it's going to be a struggle.
It's definitely starting to fade away for him for sure. I know that he has made up a boatload of positions before in the wet weather, so maybe we'll see him do it again for this evening. He did it at Qatar last week, and I say maybe tonight he may be able to do it. And Kinney, I would recommend not forgetting to load your setup this time. Especially with the pace that you've got at the moment, you can probably end up challenging those top two in that championship.
I won't count them out starting 11th and 12th. That's still. I mean, if they pass these midfield guys early on, they're right rhythm straight away. So I won't count them out at all.
Yeah, completely agree. So I wouldn't count you guys out whatsoever. But yeah, so in terms of the Ivan Mike actually went past Sector 1, interestingly enough, so he might even get an even bigger penalty for his troubles for that one. But yes, so whilst we're waiting for the lobby to get restarted and we get the grid as to who is going to be starting where for this evening due to engine penalties and any other penalties that may have gone down with that, we'll go through our sponsors for this evening. So to start with, of course, a big shout out to Next Level Racing for providing prizes towards the end of the season. Next up, of course, will be Sim Racing Setups, providing, of course, multitude different setups, a safe driver setup and an esports driver setup. Make sure you guys are checking them out. You can use code 1HUB Racing for 5% off at checkout. So of course, brand new sponsor as well for the season, and also providing for driver of the day vouchers as well. So if you want to have a look at any of the setups on there, more than welcome to have a look through those guys as well. Next one being Pure Sim Gear. Sorry about that. Microphone decided to cut out. Apologies for that. The sponsor, Pure Sim Gear, sponsor the league by providing sim racing socks and gloves to the driver with the most fastest laps and poles over the course of the season. You can also use code OHR10P to get 10% off on the sim racing socks and gloves. Next guys being Vespertine, of course, our very own Salau in the P2 tier, being the main head of Vespertine Gaming. They support our official apparel and also provide some great merchandise prizes as well for this season. And then, of course, finally over to SimGrid. Of course, everything that we've got on there for the One Hub season for the past couple of seasons now have all been on SimGrid, just to make things a lot easier for not only the drivers, but for the admin. And for anybody that also wants to have a look at any of the standings, or even to maybe even take a look at One Hub in general, they can find everything that they need to on thesimgrid.com. So obviously a big shout out to all of those guys and all of our sponsors for this evening as well. I've got to say, Jamie, we're now coming towards the end of the season. Has there been any one that's been a big surprise or a big shock factor for yourself that you may have thought wouldn't do so well at the start of the season, or maybe that would have done very well at the start of the season that hasn't performed so well at this stage of the season?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think for me, Jess being top 10 in the second tier championship is very good, very consistent form. Obviously, she had 3 top 6 finishes in the last 3 races she turned up in. So that's good to see. Her qualifying form's great as well. Another good qualifying from her this season. As in terms of disappointments, well, before he dropped down to P3 tier, I would have said Joe, because I know Joe was really quick on the last game, but she would have been in this game. So I'd have said Joe, disappointment. Well, the driver's still in the tier. I'd probably have to go with Rich. I know Rich is 6th in the standings, but he hasn't really shown. I thought he'd be a championship contender. I thought he'd be winning races. Obviously, he did cross line first in Monza, but got a penalty for speeding the pit lane. But apart from that, he hasn't really shown the pace I thought he was capable of. So I think Rich is probably the biggest disappointment so far this season because he was really quick on the last game.
No, certainly good answers for sure. And I'll be honest with you, Rich wasn't even crossing my mind in terms of bad driver because, as you say, sixth in the standings. But I do get your point completely. Racing in that GOAT Championship towards the start of the season, seeing Rich's pace as well was pretty much almost on par with the guys in the P1 side. So, yeah, to see him sitting sixth in the standings at this moment, you are right. I think it is quite surprising that and I think he probably will admit he's had a bit of an underwhelming season. So he's just trying to get that finished for sure, and trying to help his team out. I'd be assuming in the constructors as well. We'll run through the constructors standings very shortly. But in terms of who I would pick for each of those, in terms of who I think's done very well, I've got to say I think Papa Squanch for me. I think I'll be honest with you, was not anywhere near my conversations of who would be in the top tier or towards the top for the P2 tier, be completely honest with you. But coming onto this game for Papa Squanch, he's been absolutely lightning quick. Those first three races completely proved it. And it meant that the guys like Morgan, Solau and Larkin all had to basically try and do a bit more practice to try and be in contention with Papa Squanch there. And yeah, I say they've had Papa Squanch, I've got to say, for me, is definitely the driver that I think has surprised me very well, for sure. In terms of drivers that have been a slight disappointment, I will be inclined to agree with you in terms of Rich 500, but I'm also going to say, considering that he's only just got himself out of the negative points, is Mr. Ivory Mike. Also considering the fact that the last season that he was in prior to this one, he was in the P1 tier, and he's now sitting currently towards the bottom of the P2 tier. So
Yeah.
I've got to say Mike is a bit of a disappointment for me in terms of the fact that he's only sitting, where is he, in 24th in the championship. And as I say, he's only just clawed himself out of the negative points. He's sitting on 3 points and still sitting on the same points as Rydog and Lawrence. And they're both now in the P3 tier and have been for a few races. So, yeah in my opinion, Mike, I can't lie, and he probably will say it's been a bit of a disappointment for season for him. At this point, I just can't wait for an Either Spin Mike to happen for this evening around a wet Cota. But yeah, I think I say they're my disappointments and drivers that I think I've done very well for this season. I didn't know really too much in terms of Morgan's pace either. And Mikey also, driver, yeah, but both the Aston Martins, I've got to say, I think this is Mikey's first actual season of league racing. To be 7th, I don't think it's a bad feat either.
No, definitely not. That is great to see. And yeah, I do agree with you on Mike as well, because in P1 tier, he had some good results as well. He had a lot of points finishes. I think he had more points finishes, more points in the P1 tier last season, which is the first tier, compared to P2 this season. Yeah, Mike, he has shown pace on occasions, but he just hasn't. Every race seems to get involved in an instant. And yeah, be hoping for a clean one here. I know he's not a big fan of the wet race, so maybe just hoping to get one out of the way. I know he said early he's hoping to retire early so he can put his feet up tonight, but hopefully he keeps in at that and gives us a good show.
We will wait and see that for sure. Jess has just put the grid in the chat for the P2 tier. So Papa Squanch will be starting on pole position. Morgan will be starting in second. Second row will be Rich 500 and Jess. In the third row will be Catherine and Solau in 5th and 6th. Jacob in 7th, Cam in 8th, Mokri in 9th, Mikey in 10th. Kinney will be starting in 11th with Zontal in 12th. Waze in 13th, Larkin in 14th. Richelieu will be in 15th. Welsh Benjamin and Ivory Mike at the very back of the grid, of course, as they with their 10 grid place penalties for the engine penalties. And same with Kinney, Mr. Zontal in 11th and 12th. So, yeah, it's that battle of the top two in the championship of Papa Squanch and Morgan. But I've got to say, Rich and Jess could maybe try and throw a bit of a spanner in the works, especially Jess, behind the pair of them, maybe wants to try and help out her teammate.
Yeah, she's got to do a job. She's got to do solid for Larkin. Got to try and get ahead of them at the start if possible. And we try and hold up a little bit to allow Larkin if he can get his way through the field. And you have to say, starting the second row in Cota, it can be a good thing because, you know, the turn one here, there's multiple lines into turn one, and it can be a pinch point because it's so wide on entry, but as soon as you get to the exit, it tightens up. It's like reduces, like there's like you can get like 8 cars wide on the entry, but on the exit you only get about 2-3 cars wide. So yeah, it's definitely a pinch point turn one. It's going to be great, and also in the wet as well. Not much visibility, so I'm surprised to see 1 or 2 spins in turn one in the race at the start.
Yeah, for sure. I'll be honest with you. I am expecting a couple of people to be spinning at the start of this. The P2 guys have been really good so far this season in terms of stewarding wise and in terms of penalty wise, and and not particularly picking up any damage towards the start of the race. But where, as you were saying, Jamie, it is very, very tight in towards turn one, and it almost sort of reduces by like a half in terms of the road width of that. So, yeah, I think I'm expecting a couple of collisions to happen in towards turn one. I hope they will make it through quite cleanly, but with there being 17 odd drivers in this race for this evening, I do expect a few collisions to go down. Just so you guys are also aware as to what the rain is currently looking like, I'll put that up on your screen now. It is quite heavy, so it's up to the driver on whether they want to be starting on a set of maybe the wet tyres, maybe a set of the inters. Again, we was talking about that very briefly in the qualifying, Jamie. It's what I know you went on a set of inters. Are you expecting a few guys to do that for this evening?
Yeah, I'm expecting to see a split here. I'm expecting to see. It's going to be hard to tell. I'm expecting to see like almost 50-50 on that tyre choice because it is quite marginal. Because yeah, you do suffer the first couple of laps on the inters, but you start on soft, full wets, and you have to pit so early in the inters, then you have to do a really long stint in the intermediate to try and get to the dry. So I think if you feel quite good on tyre management on the inter tyre, I do think you will start that on the full wets. But I think ultimately the fast strategy is starting on the inters and suffering it for the first 2 or 3 laps. But it is going to be a suffering because the first 2 laps in particular were awful from my experience. But after lap 3, it slowly gets better to about lap 5, where in my race anyway, it might be different in this lobby obviously with the approximate weather, but by lap 5, that's when everyone on the full wets sort of came in for the intermediates.
No, I agree. So we'll see if it's going to be who's going to start on a set of the wets and maybe go for a bit of an early charge to get themselves an early pit stop, or if anybody is going to go for a set of the intermediates at the very start, take the hit at the very start of it and then claw their way back through. The guys that I'd be expecting to do that would be the likes of Kinney and Mr. Zonto in 11th and 12th, play the long game in terms of going on a set of the inters at the start, but maybe even guys at the front of the grid may opt to go for a set of wet tyres just so that they're away from the pack. So, yeah, again, we'll have to wait and see what goes on in that. In terms of who you think is going to win the race this evening, Jamie, go on, give us a quick prediction. Who do you think is going to take the win?
I think Morgan. I think he's got the edge round Papa Squanch round in. I think he'll take the win. Obviously, you cannot count out Kinney and Zonto, but I think they're just a bit too far back. If it was a dry race, if it's a dry start, I fancied them, but I think Morgan with the track position, if he gets off the line cleanly, I think he'll take the win.
I'm going to go the opposite there. I will say Papa Squanch. I think he's back on his form now, and I'm intrigued to see if he's going to be able to maintain that fort this evening. And of course, guys in the chat, let us know who you think will take the win for this evening, as Jess has given the go-ahead on the ready up, so we'll be getting the 5 red lights on very, very shortly. Of course, if you guys are wanting to have a look at anything in One Hub times, I'm sure links will be put in the chat very, very shortly. But here we go. We've got the 5 red lights here for round number 10 around One Hub, season number 27, and we are underway. A few different variations of inters and wet tyres, and it's a very even start between the top 2 of Papa Squanch and Morgan. Morgan, in fact, the better start in towards turn 1, holds it down the inside of the Williams, not able to get anything done as Rich is swooping around the outside of the Aston Martin up into second position. The Williams are now 1 and 2, and Solar was made up a couple of positions at the start. A few cars going very, very wide, as well as Jess holding it around the outside of holding the inside of turn 2 to have the outside of turn 3 on Solau and gets that move done. So she moves her way back up into 4th. Jacob already up into 6th position as well. Larkin already up into 12th position himself too. And Waze, very good start for the Ferrari, up into 8th position. One of the Kick Saubers really struggling on those intermediates at the very start. Of course, a lot of drivers will be. That is of Mokwe. He's lost 3 positions in the space of 1 corner here, Jamie. Very, very clean start. I thought there was going to be some collisions going on.
Yeah, definitely. They all kept nose clean there. Only 3 guys are full wet. Got Rich, Wace, and Richelou. And yeah, Kinney had a terrible start though. Our guy fast in qualifying, but he's lost a lot of places here, and he's really struggling at the moment. Both the Saubers struggling here. We've got Kinney and Richelou going side by side down the straight, banging wheels a bit there, but they managed to keep it together. But yeah, Rich on the full wets. That's a great start by him here. I wonder if Papa will let his teammate through, or I don't think he will. I think he'll just try and have Rich as a bit of a buffer for Morgan here. So yeah, dream start for the Williams team, but Rich will be in very soon for a set of intermediates.
Certainly will. Waze has now moved himself up into 6th position, getting up ahead of Solau as well. Very good start for the Ferrari driver. Of course, on a set of the wet tyres, so he wants to try and move up as many positions as he possibly can early on to obviously nullify the early pit stop that he's going to have to take when it goes to actual intermediate conditions. But Morgan sticking to the back of Rich, and in the final corner, Jacob making a bit of a mistake. Waze is trying to go side by side now with Jacob down in towards turn number 1. Jess already losing out 1 second to the top 3. Waze going to try and hold it down the inside. There's yellow flags out of the final corner. That is Richelou out of the final corner. He's taking a 10-second penalty for speed, and I'm not sure what's happened there. And Mike is into the pits, already retiring from the session. So yeah, he is already come in and decided to DNF. I don't know if he picked himself up any wing damage or what happened with Mike there.
No, it's a weird one there. I just came in the pits and called it a day, and obviously not fancying it today. And yeah, I don't think he got damaged, but maybe not fancying this tonight, and obviously he'd be putting his feet up and he'll be back next week. And good news for him is there's no more wet running, so good to see his Papa has got a 1.4 second lead, and Morgan's all the back of Rich. Morgan has to get his move done because he's losing the bookstore time to the Williams guy.
Yeah, he certainly does. He's trying to go for a bit of a switch back on Rich as well. Rich, though, getting a better traction, of course, in the wet conditions as well. No DRS, of course, in the pouring down rain. It's only when we get into dry conditions is where there will be DRS, so they've got to do it on pure merit and with using their battery and their instincts. And at the moment, Rich holding on up ahead of the Aston Martin. Waves trying to put a bit of pressure on the Jess as well for that 4th position. Again, very good start for the Ferrari, moving up all the way into 5th position. So yeah, fair play to Waze for his start. Again, probably still going to have a bit of a talking to in terms of cutting track. As all, Jacob running into the back of the Ferrari. Solau now side by side with his teammate, and Jacob's picked himself up a bit of front left end plate damage because of running into the back of the Ferrari. They were all going so slow through that hairpin, and I don't think Jacob was expecting the speed difference being there. No. And yeah, Jacob, now that front left end plate damage, surely he's got his teammate through.
Yeah, definitely. That is an absolute disaster in the wet to have wing damage. It's bad enough this track in the dry to have wing damage, but in the wet, that's game over basically. He's going to have to just survive, try and get a decent pit window, change wing there, but that's costly there for Jacob. And Solau, yeah, truly let his teammate through. He's got Wace and Jess going side by side into turn 1, and Wace gets a better exit, but Jess going to have the outside, but Wace has it covered, and Wace is up to 4th place. The full wets are still good at the moment, but Wace is a bit of a moment there, but he managed to hang on there, but Wace up to 4th place. What a start by Wace there, taking full advantage of the grip the full wets offers. Richelou is in the pits already to change onto as he's out of the race as well. He had that spin there, so we've got 2 retirements already. So we've got Morgan and Rich going side by side, and yes, is Rich struggling a bit on the full wets. Morgan get moved on here, superior traction, and he's up to 2nd place.
Beautifully orchestrated by the Aston Martin there. He was trying to switch back on the Williams and managed to get it done in the end at the exit of the S's at the uphill section. So Morgan now up into 2nd. Got 3-second gap to try and chase down his championship rival of Papa Squanch. Jacob still not allowing his teammate to go on by. Jacob, in fact, is trying to get on to the back of Jess and even try and maybe go for an overtake on the Red Bull. Down into towards the heavy braking zone, does go for it, but completely locks up. Jess not expecting that. Solau then now goes past Jess, although Jess has the better traction coming out of there. I don't think she'll be too happy that just happened between them, her and the Mercedes. And Solau and Jess still both side by side with one another, but Solau has a bit of a moment. They're now 3 wide going in towards the hairpin there. Mikey, Cam, and Solau. I don't think Solau was expecting it to be 3 wide, but they made it 3 wide through there, and Solau ends up holding on ahead of them. Jess losing out that position to Jacob, but I don't think she's going to be too happy with that, and is going to try and chase down Jacob.
Yeah, Larkin upside of Catherine here. Guys got the move done, so Larkin showing his weather prowess again up to 10th place, and look at these guys ahead. He's going to have to weave his way through these guys. Got Jacob just outside last call. Jacob's in the pits to change his wing. So Jacob will for a wing change. So that's not ideal for him. That's compromises strategy a bit. He's got to go very long on these 7ers.
Yeah, he certainly does. Cam managed to get the move done on Solau as well. Now Mikey's going to try and follow suit with that. Down the inside in towards turn 1. Solau gives that one up, taps the back of the Aston Martin. It's now allowed Larkin to see if he can go for the move on Solau. Of course, 2 that are sitting 3rd and 4th in the championship at the moment, sitting in 8th and 9th in this race so far. As very interesting, he weighs has caught up to the back of Rich 500 in on those wet tyres, so we'll keep an eye out on that one on the guys on the wets. But yeah, the rain is definitely starting to ease up a lot more, and in fact it is definitely now intermediate conditions. I'm very surprised though Jess has not managed to catch up with those guys out on the wets at the moment.
No, I expect these 2 to be in this lap, so these 2 are trying to race for track position here, and Waste up the inside so much more confident braking than Rich. Rich is really struggling. He hasn't got the confidence and the grip on these tyres, and yeah, he had a good first lap, but he's just fallen back to the field ever since then. But he did a good job with his teammate holding Morgan for about 2 laps, and Morgan is catching a little bit here, but still around 3 seconds. So Rich helped his teammate solid there, but he just hasn't got the pace at the moment, and he'll definitely be in this lap because that car does not look a nice car to drive.
Yeah, it certainly is. So yeah, Pab Squanch still holding on to the lead of the race here, 2.8 seconds ahead of Morgan. This will just eke out Papa Squanch's championship hopes even more. I think if Solau and Larkin do finish in 8th and 9th, however, this evening, I will be honest, I don't think that they'll be in, well, Larkin certainly, I don't think will be in championship contention. I think Solau will just about be clinging on to the edge of his fingers there, but yeah, I don't think Larkin will be in championship contention anymore. With the top 2, so they definitely need to get a bit more of a move on. Of course, starting on the inters, it's going to help them a bit, but again, hopefully, they can make a few positions up on here. So,
Rich,
they don't
staying out.
Yeah, both of them staying out.
I wonder if Rich is holding up Larkin and Salau here a bit as well, but they're already 10 seconds to lead to Larkin and Salau. So how do you think? I'll just pick his compromise race. You've got Cam up the inside of Jess here, 2 management member teams going side by side the McLaren and the Red Bull. Jess on the outside, but Cam is going to get moved on the inside, go side by side. Great race between these 2. Cam surely got to get moved on here. Who's going to back out here? Jess backs out and Cam's up into 5th place. Cam, a sneaky good drive in the wet there, showing his prowess again, and surely it's going to easily get Rich here, because Rich, that car looks so terrible to drive.
Certainly was, and I'll tell you what as well, Solau and Larkin, you saying Jess about easing off, but Solau and Larkin definitely did not ease off of each other through those S's. They were side by side through that entire thing, and Larkin managed to get that move done, but now Cam is going to try and go down the inside of Rich. In fact, dives it up the inside, going down in towards the long straight, and Rich just gives that one up. Probably going to lose not 1 but 2 positions. So Jess is all over the back of her now, and let's see if she's going to be able to go for the move on the Williams. In fact, she's not even close enough. In fact, Rich is going for the move back on the McLaren of Cam, and I think Cam, unfortunately, is going to have to give that one up, although Rich does break very, very early in towards the corner. Rich is going to hold on to the inside part, and they're both still side by side with one another. The American's going to be able to hold it down the inside, and Mikey's going to try and follow him as well. I don't know if Mikey's going to be able to get the track done on traction, but the 2 Red Bulls now side by side with one another as well. Jess and Larkin, who's going to make it through between the pair of them, and they're still both side by side with one another through the triple right-hander.
Yep, and yeah, Rich is really struggling there. He's just all over the show here, and he had really good straight line speed. I think Rich has gone too low in wings there, and he'll be great in the dry, but he's going to be too far back for it to work in the dry. He's got Rich and Salau go side by side. Salau forced off track there. Rich will surely have to pit now. Yes, he does, and Salau has lost the place there to Jess. That was not great for the Mercedes man there. And Morgan is caught up a lot by Papa. Morgan is within a second of Papa. We saw Papa struggle in the wet in Qatar, and it seems like, again, Morgan's got superior pace in the wet, but it's one thing to have a superior pace. It's another thing trying to get past. Salau picks up a penalty, and his race has gone bad to worse at the moment.
Yeah, it certainly has. In fact, he's just been overtaken by Jess, and they're both still side by side. Once again, going through the S section. Jess is the one that holds on just ahead, but Solau is trying to put any bit of pressure that he can onto the back of the Red Bull driver, and Jess doing a very good job of holding him back as well. So yeah, she's able to try and help her teammate out now. Obviously, the contact that happened with Rich and Salah into towards the penultimate corner, I don't think Rich was expecting Salah to be on his outside, and Rich, of course, cut off to the right, but then wanted to come into the pits. So yeah, Jess was then on the inside of Rich. He had to then back off of that one. I'm seeing a little bit of wing damage as well on, I believe that is the RB of Mr. Zontal. Yeah, he's got himself from front right end plate damage as well. So starting on the set of the inters, he started down in 12. He's, you know, he's now managing with a bit of extra damage as Jess and Salah once again side by side with one another.
Yep, Salah gets it done this time now. Jess inside here. It's Conor can lunge up inside, but no, Salah has it covered off there, and now Jess got a worry about Zonto's going round the outside. Now Zonto cut down here. These are fantastic. I don't like driving these corners on hot lapping, but they're so great for racing because multiple lines. You can do cheeky dive bombs, and them few corners there are fantastic for racing.
Yeah, they certainly are. I'll tell you what's quite interesting as well. Waze is now only just coming in on a set of those intermediate tyres. And I've got to say, from the wet, sorry, to the inters. I've got to say, I don't think that was a bad strategy from Waze whatsoever, because he's now coming on to chuck on another set of intermediates. The guys that are on the inters will probably do that in about 3 or 4 laps time. Waze will get a jump on quite a significant amount of them. I don't think Waze has had a bad start to this race whatsoever.
That's worked well for him. Nice, they can get nice undercut them guys, and yeah, Waze has put himself in podium contention with that. Great stint on the full wet. He's come out the pits now. He's going to come out ahead of Jacob. Yes, he is. See, that's worked out. Look how much clean air Wade's got now. He can push on, and he's got to get his tire temperature though, because Jacob, we come out the pits in these tyres. It does take you a good lap to get the temperature, so Jacob has to get his move done now, whilst Waze is trying to get these tyres warm, because obviously you don't get the full tyre blankets that you do on the dry tyres.
Yeah, that is certainly the case as well, and I'm just keeping an eye out on a few of the drivers out in front. Mikey now under pressure from the Red Bull of Larkin for that 4th position. Of course, Mikey has picked himself up a penalty, and same with Solau, but Solau, of course, I know was forced off by Rich at the penultimate corner, so might look at getting that removed if he doesn't pick himself up another warning in this race. But around this circuit is very tough, as Larkin looking down the inside of Mikey in towards the tight left-hander after the long straight. Not going to go for any particular move at the moment, and in fact, from saying that, Mikey is now putting the pressure on Cam for that 3rd position. The top 2, by the way, still now separated by 0.4 of a second. Morgan is hounding the back of Papa Squanch, and this championship battle going down here, well, this could potentially be a bit of a game changer here, Jamie. It could be whoever wins this one, you know, SA, they get a bit more of an advantage in terms of their championship side.
Yeah, definitely. It will allow, if the results are like this, Papa will have an 8-point lead, but if one get by, it's going to be a 2-point lead. So there's a 6-point swing here between these two. These two look comfortably clear of the rest tonight, as Larkin comes in with an early stop. I think trying to cover off Waste there. I think that's what he's doing. As Morgan's so much more confident than Papa. Papa is really struggling. I don't think Papa's the biggest fan of the wet weather. He'd be glad to see the back of it after tonight.
Yeah, he certainly will do. And I think the reason why Larkin actually opted to come in very early is not just to try and cover off Waze and Jacob, as Jacob's just gone down the inside of Waze, but he's gone very deep through there, and Waze gone for a bit of a switchback on the Mercedes and holds onto that position in 11th. But I think the reason why Larkin did that is because he wanted to get out of the traffic of Mikey and Cam out in front of him, especially with Solau just closing up to the back. So he wanted to try and get the jump on them. However, he's now come into the traffic of both Jacob and Sheck Waze. So he's now got to try and maneuver his way through these two to try and, well, at least have a good undercut on the guys out in front of him on those intermediate tyres. Of course, he will still have an undercut, because those inters, after about 7 or 8 laps, they do start to get a little bit squirmy and a bit slidey. So yeah, I'm expecting Larkin to still get a bit of an undercut on these guys, but he needs to try and get a good jump, because the tyre deficit that you get between a 7-lap old inter and a fresh set of inters, or even 5 laps or even 3 laps, you definitely notice a difference between them. As Jacob and Waze both side by side once again. Waze trying to hold it down the inside through the double right-handers now, and I think Waze is going to be able to hold on to that one. Larkin has now joined the party with that. Jacob still trying to put a bit of a pressure onto the Ferrari out in front of him, but he's not going to be able to go for any move again. Waze holds on to that position, and as I say, Larkin now joining in the party with us.
Yeah, definitely. Now he's going to get held up here. Now Larkin could use clinical overtaking like I did in Qatar. He's going to struggle here. But I'll say Wace, he doesn't seem to have the pace of Jacob, but what he's showing great racecraft. He's very real world there. And it's got a hard strict line speed as well. It's not going to be easy these guys to overtake Wace because Wace seems quite quick on the straight line as anything. Larkin's backed off a little bit there. Is Jake going to do a dive into turn one? Nope, he's too far back for that. As Kinney comes in the pits, he's going to come out in 13th place. Going close with Rich. Now, is Rich going to be ahead of Kinney? No, he isn't.
Yeah, so Kinney just managed to hold on ahead of the Williams. So Rich really not enjoying these conditions whatsoever. Larkin absolutely loving it. And same with Waze. They're both absolutely loving these wet conditions. A bit further up in front, Solau all over the back of Cam for that third position. And the top two still gapping out even further from the guys out in front of behind them. He's now 12 seconds in front of Cam in third, as Jacob now trying to dive it down the inside of Waze in toward, or coming on towards the long straight here, and actually the Mercedes manages to get it done. But Waze, we've seen that he is pretty quick in a straight line at this circuit, so let's see if he's going to be able to go for the move back on that Mercedes out in front of him. Larkin just looking to see when one of them is going to make a mistake in front and is going to then try and pounce on that. Waze goes for a bit of a dummy. Larkin then sends it up the inside of the Ferrari. They're both still side by side with one another. Waze is going to have to try and hold it down the inside of the Red Bull, going for the double rights. They're both still side by side with one another. Waze is going to have the inside for the next right-hander, but Larkin will have the inside for the long left, and I think Waze is going to have to give that one up. Larkin gets that done, gets his wheel axles in front and gets up into 11th position. So that was massive for Larkin to get that one done, as we're starting to see now, Jamie, a lot more people coming into the pits.
Yeah, a lot of guys coming in with lap 9, lap 10, I was expecting this, the guys aren't in this, but yeah, that was crucial for Larkin now. See, Larkin, as he waits, had to break a bit early behind Jacob. Obviously, Jacob keeping the position, and Larkin needs some opportunity. I've got to dive up the inside, as we see a few times in real life race, we dive up inside that corner, and yeah, a bit of contact there, but yeah, Larkin gets through, and now look at this. Larkin's got ahead of all these guys that come out of the pits, likes of Zontal and Mokri and Salal. That undercut has worked for Larkin there, and Jacob. I say Jacob has hauled himself right back into podium contention.
Yeah, he certainly has. So let's see if Larkin's going to be able to get the move done on Jacob, or if Jacob's going to be able to hold on to the Red Bull driver behind. I was saying that Jacob just has a massive slide as he's making his way up towards the hill. And as I say that, Larkin also picks up a 3-second time penalty. So it's a crucial mistake from the Red Bull driver. Picking up that 3-second time penalty is now going to allow, it's going to allow the drivers behind him within the 3 seconds to jump up ahead of him at the end of the race. A bit further up though, Jess is doing whatever she can to hold on for her teammate. Morgan trying to go down the inside of the Red Bull. Jess is going to try and hold it around the outside of one of the championship leaders, and I think Jess is going to have to give that one up, or is she maybe trying to dive it down the inside and towards the double rights? No, Morgan has managed to get the move done on Jess. Jess did try and put up a bit of a fight on the Aston Martin, but unfortunately Morgan's new intermediate tyres were just better, well, significantly better than the 9-lap old intermediates. But where is Papa Squanch going to come out in relation to Morgan? Of course, Morgan, I think Morgan is going to get the undercut done on Papa Squanch. Of course, Papa Squanch now only just coming into the pits 1 lap later. Morgan, he's coming around the final corner. In fact, this, I don't think it's even going to be close. I think Morgan has got a massive jump on Papa Squanch as he comes, makes his way out of the pit lane now.
Yeah, definitely. It's just quite pronounced there. It's going to be close in turn 1 though, but I think Morgan's going to have it done. He's going to be side by side to turn 1. Morgan around the outside is going to have better warmer tyres, better traction, and Morgan gets it done. That was very tight. Another 10th or 2 there, and Papa would have had that, but yeah, Morgan just about to say his head. Now, can Morgan pull away here and show his superior pace in the wet lap? And Papa will be kicking himself there for that, because that is a great strategy call there by Morgan, pitting the lap early there, and he's ahead of Papa, as Larkin also has got by Jacob now. So Larkin's in the net 3rd place at the moment.
Yeah, he certainly is in a net 3rd, but with that 3-second time penalty, it means that he's going to drop back behind the Mercedes, so he needs to get a bit of a shift on and try and get that gap up ahead of the Mercedes of Jacobs. So he needs to try and get that 3-second gap. A safety car, though, would absolutely ruin that strategy, not only for Larkin, but for the net top 2 of Morgan and Papa Squanch. They are around 11 seconds in front of Larkin, so yeah, they need to try, well, there's no safety car coming out for sure, as you say. Yeah, Solau now gets past Jacobs, so the two Mercedes going to try and work together to try and close up to the Red Bull out in front of them.
Yeah, definitely. As Cam will surely be in this lap. If he doesn't, then it's going to be a bit of a roadblock for his leaders. Cam really struggles, so Cam will surely pick this lap. He's so much time staying out. Bit of glory leading the lap here, but yeah, Cam will pit. And at the moment, look at that. Morgan's pulled 1.5 seconds on Papa on this lap. Morgan's just so much more confident at this stage of the race.
Yeah, that is true. However, Papa also had only just come out of the pit, so he probably was just trying to warm up his tyres that little bit extra. But yeah, Morgan, I mean, we saw it towards the start of the race anyway. Morgan was definitely looking a lot more confident than what Papa Squanch was out in front. As Waze and Mikey both side by side through the final corner. Waze holding it around the outside of the Aston Martin. I think a little bit of wheel banging between the pair of them, and Mikey had to give that one up. Waze now up into 7th position. Cam coming out right next to the likes of Waze and Mikey. In fact, Cam's going to hold it down the inside in towards turn 1. Mikey's going to try and switch it back on the McLaren, but where Cam was holding it down the inside, Mikey, when he tried to switch back, unfortunately was caught towards the back of the McLaren, so has to stay behind him for now. Yeah, Waze up into 6th position now, Cam into 7th, but of course needs to get those tyres warmed up in order to try and chase himself back down for at least a top 5 spot.
Yeah, it's going to be a struggle here for Cam. His next lap he's just try and keep it in the way, but he had great traction out of that corner. He's going to fancy dive up the inside of Waze. He is. Will Waze have his cover? Yes, he does. He gets a better exit. Waze gets a decent exit there, but Cam will be in the slipstream using his battery. He's got loads of battery to spare here, so Cam may fancy a dive into the hairpin here. As he got ahead, we've got the Red Bull and the Mercedes going side by side. Solo going for move on Larkin. And Cam going for move on Waze, but Waze just about has it covered as Larkin just about has it covered on Larkin.
He certainly doesn't have it covered though. Cam went for a nice little switch back on the Ferrari. They're both still side by side through the double rights. Cam's going to have the inside for the left-hander, and Waze again I think is going to have to give that one up. No, they're still both side by side with one another, but Cam does get a better traction out of that one and moves himself up into 6th position. Beautiful move from the McLaren to get that done on the Ferrari. It was crucial to get that done, especially on the fresher tyres as well. He can now go and try and chase down the two Mercedes out in front as Waze really struggling through those triple right-handers on those intermediate tyres. I think they're already going out for him.
Yeah, it's 6-lap old tyres and he's just sliding everywhere. The rear's gone. This rear degradation on the inters is just an absolute killer, and he is suffering big time for it. And bad news for him is it's nowhere near slicks yet. We're still good. I reckon good 3 or 4 laps away from slicks, so he's going to have to try and bide his time here. You've got Mike and Zonto going side by side. Mike Zonto up into 8th place. Zonto, I think, having his wing repaired, I think. I'm not quite sure, but yeah, Zonto is up to 8th now as Larkin and Salau are now racing side by side, and Salau seems to have more confidence on these slightly fresher set tyres than Larkin.
Yeah, he certainly does. Larkin just having a little slide coming going through the uphill section. Interestingly, Mr. Zontal has not fixed his front wings, so he is doing this on pure pace and is doing a very good job with that broken front wing on that front rise. So yeah, he's now going to try and challenge Waze for that 7th position. But yeah, further up ahead, Salau and Larkin both now trying to charge for this 3rd position. They both want to try and get that 3-second gap up ahead of Jacob. Larkin's going to try and go defensive on the inside. Salah's going to try and sweep it around the outside towards the heavy braking zone. I think Larkin's going to hold the inside for that. Is Salah going to try and go for a bit of a switchback? No, he taps the back of the Red Bull and is going to have to hold position again for the time being. And all of this battling is just going to allow Jacob to stay within that 3-second gap between the pair of them, unless Salah goes for an absolute audacious dive bomb on the Red Bull, which he doesn't. Larkin holds on to 3rd position for the time being, but again, Jacob just being allowed to stay within that 1.5 second gap buffer between those top two, between 3rd and 4th. Sorry.
Yeah, because he was on 10-lap old tyres. Jacob did a great job. He's pacing at that back on such old tyres, and yeah, it's just about hanging on there. Comfortably ahead of Cam, who will probably catch him very shortly. Yeah, but yeah, I'm quite impressed by Jacob's tyre management at this phase of the race. As Salah got a bit squirrely out the last corner here, desperate to try and get a move done on the Red Bull.
Yeah, he certainly did, and a little bit squirrely as well was Sheck Waze again going out of that, going in towards the final corner. Mr. Zontal tapping the back of the Ferrari. He doesn't want any more wing damage than what he's got at the moment, so he needs to try and be a bit careful with that. But yeah, Waze really struggling now on these intermediate tyres. After 7 laps, they already looked like they want to fall off an edge of a cliff. So yeah, Waze needs to try and do what he can to do a bit of tyre management, but he is pushing that Ferrari as hard as he possibly can, and all of that is allowing, as I say, the likes of Zonta, Mikey, and even Kinney. Kinney's now even joined the fray with that. The 4-car battle for this 7th position. Of course, Mikey has that penalty, but yeah, he needs to try and do whatever he can to get the move done. As Solau and Larkin both side by side once again. Solau diving up the inside in towards the hairpin, coming onto the long DRS straight. Of course, no DRS, and Larkin is going to try and go for this move back on the Mercedes once again. It's this battle between those guys for 3rd and 4th on the road, both with their penalties as well. Larkin's going to hold it up the inside of the Mercedes, both still side by side, both keeping it on the road on the black stuff as well. And Solau's going to have the inside for the double right-hander. Larkin's going to try and swoop it around the outside, breaks as late as he possibly can, and unfortunately has to give that position up. So Solau's now up into 3rd position. Great battling between the Mercedes and the Red Bull. Haven't heard anyone say that in a very long time, but a very good battle between the pair of them. And now up into 3rd position goes Solau. Wants to try and get that jump up ahead of Larkin in that championship.
Yeah, because the gap is pulled already. He's pulled almost a second already. Solau so much more confidence in the last set. The Larkin's car not handling too nicely for there. There's only a 2-lap difference in tyres, but you can tell how much this is there. Larkin's in that position where his tyres starting to go, and he's another guy who needs it dry up pretty quickly because the rear end doesn't look that nice on the Red Bull. There's the gap between the front two stabilised a little bit, about 1.8 seconds. So Papa, I think we'll be quite happy with that. Yeah, he seems to be more confident in this stint than the previous stint. So yeah, Papa right up there. He's got Waste Sonto going side by side turn 1, and Sonto's going to get the move done. Oh, he cuts it, up Waste a little bit there, and yeah, he gets the move done there. But Waste had to back out of it there because Sonto's very aggressive into the start of the S's.
Yeah, very, very. It was just wheel-banging through the whole of that section as well at the very start. Even towards turn 1, I saw it was contact making their way through. So Zonta could potentially be a steward support after the race with that. But now Mikey's going to go for a bit of a switch back on Waze up the hill. Waze going to try and use a bit of his battery to go a bit defensive, but goes very squirrely at the exit of that. Wow. But he's now going to have the inside line for the long DRS straight. But Mikey's going to go for a switch back on the Ferrari, and I think Mikey's going to be able to get this one done. Waze is really struggling on those tyres. In fact, no, Mikey had a bit of a squirrel moment out of the exit of that turn as well. And now Kinney's going to try and go for a move. The Turk is going to try and go around the outside in towards the heavy braking zone. I think Kinney may even try and go for it on Waze's Waze, moving himself back on towards the racing line. Yeah. Kinney going to see if he can go for any move on the Ferrari out in front, as Mikey trying to go for a switch back on the kick Sauber as well, and then tries to dive it up the inside of the kick Sauber, but not going to be able to go for any move. They're still side by side with one another though, to be fair, and Mikey going to try and swoop it around the outside and try and get the best run as he can for, again, trying to switch it back on the kick Sauber, but not getting close enough. We've been treated to an absolute cork of a race so far here, JB. Battles just absolutely everywhere.
Yeah, fantastic battle, and quite clean as well. So a few bumps and bruises, but it's what you expect with such tight races like this. So we've got Mikey up the inside of the last corner here, thinks better of it. Now, can he get compromise exit, get a good exit? He does a little bit here. He's going to be in the slipstream, but it's going to be so difficult to take, as Kinney seems to have a really good straight line speed, not even using battery and pulling away by a couple of times down the straight there. But yeah, but great race there between them two. Fantastic battling, and say certain drivers are struggling. So this is where you can tell who's got the best tyre wear. This stage of a race where the guys with the better tyre wear just pull away, and the guys that are struggling they're just nowhere.
But, yeah, and I'll tell you who is one of them that was struggling as well. Sorry to cut you off there. It was just between the battle of Jacob and Cam. Jacob and Cam both side by side as they're making their way in towards the S section. Cam had to completely cut the S's as he tapped the side of Jacob. Jacob, though, 12-lap old intermediate tyres. He is already really struggling on these intermediates. And unfortunately, I think he's just going to have to see the position to the McLaren out in front, because if he keeps on battling, I mean, they've lost 3 seconds from Larkin and Solau, so Cam now going to try and go down the inside of the Mercedes, and I think the American is going to have that move done on the Mercedes, and yet he certainly does. Gets that move done. McLaren now up in the 5th position. Jacob, I don't think it's going to be able to challenge, especially on those 12-lap old intermediate tyres, so yeah, he's now got to try and do a bit of a charge up towards the back of Larkin and Solau to try and get himself onto that podium, which is very doable.
Yeah, he's got 4-lap old tyres, so the tyres have been good nick, and now he's got rid of Jacob. We keep an eye on that closely. The gap's around 5 seconds at the moment, so it's going to be 2 with the penalty getting moved. So yeah, Cam is in contention of a podium day for sure, and yeah, great drive by him here. And yeah, Jacob, it's just, you can't feel like mush at the moment. It's just 13 lap old tyres now. It's just impossible, and he's doing such a good job to keep it on track at the moment. But the problem for him, he's in punch territory now, so he can get a rear punch at any time. So that's the threat to Jacob's race.
Yeah, it certainly is, and it's a massive battle going on here for 8th position. Kinney and Mikey and Waze just trying to hold it on the on the outside of turn 1. Mikey going for a bit more of an unexpected dive bomb. I think it was unexpected from Mikey as well. Tried to go for a bit of a dive bomb on that, and unfortunately not able to get the move done on Waze. I think he's getting very impatient on the Ferrari driver now, as he's been stuck behind him for quite a few laps, and of course Waze on those intermediate tires. You can see he's just really sliding left, right and centre everywhere, but Mikey also doing a little bit of the same, still by side as they made their way up through the hill. Waze has now ceded the position to the Aston Martin. Is Waze going to try and dive it up the inside though on the Aston Martin? No, he is not. So yeah, Waze is now down into 10th position, Mikey up into 9th, and he got a much better traction out of there, did the Aston Martin. And now Jess is going to try and see if she can get the move done on the Ferrari as well for that 10th position. I think Waze is going to have to cede that one as well, because he's really struggling on those intermediate tyres. But Jess going to try and hold it around the outside. I think she may be able to get this one done. Still by side. She'll have the inside for the double right-hander. Waze going to have the outside for the double right-hander, but on those tyres that are completely cooked, yeah, Jess gets that move done. And Rich might even try and follow suit as well. It's all kicking off for 8th position here, Jamie.
Yeah, it's a battle between 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, now 13th, because Catherine and Roki have joined this battle too. So yeah, Wace is looking good for a podium early on. Now you may not even score a point. It just shows you how things change. Jake's in the pits now. Is this an early gamble on a set of slicks? It doesn't look quite ready yet, but we'll wait and see. But yeah, Jake had to make that gamble though, because his tyres would have gone off, so he's sort of forced to pit there. What are tyres going for? Goes over another set of intermediates. No, I'm not sure that's the right call, but we'll wait and see.
I think that was a bad call from Jacob to go on there. I think if I was him, I would have just waited it out until I got a puncture. If that was the point, if that's the case, because it should stop raining probably within the next couple of laps. I'm surprised it hasn't already, to be fair. But yeah, we're on lap 18 of 28, and it is still chucking it down with rain at the moment. So yeah, I'm very surprised we've not seen it go quite dry at this current moment. But yeah, but I've got to say, I think that was a mistake from Jacob for sure.
Yeah, in the P3 tier, we're all pitting this lap for slicks. So we'll wait and see. I mean, it looks like the rain stopped now. So I don't think we're too far off slicks there, but yeah, Jacob, if you can do 2 or 3 quick laps though, it might work out for it. But I seriously wish he could have stayed out. If he's going to do that, he should have pitted 3 or 4 laps. He should have pitted like 4 or 5 laps earlier if that was his plan. But yeah, it just cost itself, I think, any chance of a decent result today. It's unfortunate. It was all due to getting that wind damage early on, because I think he had good pace, but that wind damage early on just killed his race.
Yeah, it did for sure, and I think now the rain has only just stopped. We're on lap 19 of 28 with the top 2, and yeah, the rain has now stopped. So when are we going to start to see people come in to go on a slick condition? I think it might actually be now. Larkin has made his way into the pits, so I'm going to be under the assumption he is going for a set of dry tyres, and he certainly is. I see the mediums coming out for Red Bull pits, so Larkin going on a set of the mediums to go to the end of the race. It is still a bit early, but he needed to get off of those intermediate tyres. May look at getting a jump on a few of the guys. Jess has sped into the pits, so she's now going to be at a massive disadvantage. A lot of people making their way into the pits. Jess is going on a set of hard tyres to the end of the race. Wade's coming in for a set of mediums. Mikey on a set of medium tyres as well. Catherine on a set of mediums, and Rich mediums for him. Moqui on a set of hard. So a bit of a different variation. Jacob, Moqui and Jess on a set of hard tyres. In fact, I just realised Jacob coming in again.
Yeah, I assume. I think he may have selected the wrong tyre by mistake. I assume that's what he did, because there's no way they pitted the set of inters there. So I assume he made one time by mistake. But I'm not sure the hard tyre is the right tyres. Larkin has this big moment, big snap. It's not quite ready for slicks yet. Larkin's a massive slide, and Benjamin's pulled 2.5 seconds on him already. So yeah, it's not quite ready for slicks. But if he can just hang on to it, it may work out for him. But yeah, I'm surprised the leaders picked this lap, because it's going to be this lap, I think, where slicks come. So Papa has gained a lot on Morgan. Well, now it's drying up. This is getting more and more to Papa's liking.
Oh, Very interesting. Morgan missed his pit lane. He was going into the pits, completely missed it because he went on the left-hand side. He went through the pit lane part, but then completely cut the track. So he has now lost the lead of the race to Papa Squanch. Papa Squanch is now in the lead. And I don't think he was expecting that because Morgan wanted to come in. But yeah, I say he missed his breaking point. I don't know if he was expecting Papa to stay out or what. But yeah, Morgan opted to stay out. Solau comes into the pits. Cam stays out. Mr. Zontal is finally into the pits, and same with Kinney. Yeah. So yeah, we are definitely going to start to see a transition period from the slicks to the wet tyres.
Now, it's slicks now, definitely. It's definitely now slicks. Just a bit sketchy that first sector for the guys, but it's slicks now. Now, where we're Larkin about versus Salau, will Salau keep the position? I don't think he will, though. Larkin is well ahead there. So even with that little moment in end of sector 1, that has worked out a treat for Larkin, and that's going to help him secure a podium position here as Cam has stayed out too. And yeah, that was that if he pitted, Morgan would have won the race, but that slip may have cost him the race win here because he's going to have to pit behind Papa and he's going to have to re-overtake Papa Squanch.
Yeah, so Larkin is he's actually emerged 8 and a bit seconds behind Solau. So Solau is the one that's looking on for a podium for this evening and is looking to try and break the curse of a 2nd or 4th position finish for himself, unless he can somehow get involved within the top 2 battle. But these two guys of Papa Squanch and Morgan still both out on those intermediate tyres. I'd be assuming now they will both be in for sure. And yeah, Papa Squanch is now coming in. Morgan is also now coming in. He wanted to come in at the last lap but completely locked up his tyres and ended up carrying on the circuit. It's funny enough, Papa Squanch setting the fastest lap of the race coming into the pits. But yeah, so they are now coming in. Cam, I'm under the assumption, is coming in, so we'll see where they come out in relation to Solau. I'm assuming they will be significantly ahead of the Mercedes driver, and Papa Squanch will stay in the lead of the race. But it's all going to be kicking off between these top 2 now that DRS will be in play, probably within the next lap or 2 here, Jamie.
Yeah, definitely. There's going to be a fun battle between them two. And yeah, Salau would have gained some time on Papa Morgan, but nowhere near enough. Now it's down to 10 seconds. It's like it's a fast lap, but he just pitted a lap too early. I don't blame him for making the call, but it was just a lap too early.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's lost him out a significant amount of time, considering that he was battling with Solau for a while of that as well. So yeah, I think it was definitely a lap too early for Larkin, but he's looking to try and secure that 4th place for sure, and I think he's going to be able to do so. Funny enough, championship order is what it is currently sitting in for 1st to 4th, so yeah, but that looks like that might be about to change as Morgan might be looking to go for a move on Papa Squanch. DRS is now open for the Aston Martin. He's going to try and look to go down the inside of the Williams in towards the heavy braking zone. Both still side by side, a little bit of wheel banging between the pair of them. I think the championship leader is just going to be able to hold on ahead of the Aston Martin, and this is where it's now going to get scrappy between these top 2. It is just literally these two. 10 seconds separating those top 2, now down to 8.5 seconds, but they're separating those top 2, and it's where it's now all going to be kicking off, especially now that DRS is in play here, Jamie. It's going to be Papa Squanch versus Morgan as to who comes out on top of that one.
We may see a bit of we'll see a bit of position play. Maybe for opportunities, the best place to be is the 2nd place, coming to the start of last lap, and maybe try and get a bit of save your battery and DRS. And how desperate would Morgan be to get by Papa? I don't think he'd be too desperate at the moment. He'd be happy to sit back in the Williams at the moment, try and spook him a little bit. But I don't think Morgan's too desperate to get by at the moment. He'll be trying to bide his time, I think. But Papa, he was just trying to... Papa, yeah, it's going to be very interesting anyway. Salah's getting a lot of time, these guys, though, but it's because they're scrapping. That's why he's getting so much time. He's down to 7 seconds now, but obviously with that time penalty and 7-second gap, it's too late for Salah, I think, to really be in this fight.
Yeah, it certainly is. I don't know if you want to have a quick check on the penalty situation for the top 2, because they are both going tooth and nail at it with each other. And as you say, it's allowing Salah to now just sort of glide up to the back of those top 2. He's now brought the gap down to 6.8 seconds. So I'm intrigued to see if he's going to be able to even be close enough if one of them get a penalty. As Morgan now opts to go around the outside of the Williams, goes and looks for a bit of a switchback, and he has definitely got the better traction in comparison to the Williams, but Papasquanch is going to hold it up the inside, hits the back of the Williams. Did Morgan pick himself up any wing damage from that? It doesn't look like it, but still side by side with one another as well, and I think Papasquanch is going to be able to hold on ahead of the Aston Martin, but I don't think Morgan's going to be particularly too happy at that move that Papasquanch has just done, as Morgan actually absolutely clattered the back of the Williams. Hopefully Morgan didn't pick up any wing damage from that.
No, hopefully not. As I checked the penalty system, and Morgan's got 2 track limit penalties warnings, and Papa's got 1, so Morgan picked up 2. They've picked them up once they got on the slick tyres. It's not a huge surprise, because obviously once you're on the dry tyres you are pushing the track limits a lot more. So yeah, it's not a huge surprise. I always expect the penalty count go up more and more now we're on the dry tyres. As yeah, Papa getting very feisty, I have to say, in that section there.
Needs to hold on to the lead of this race. As say, these top 2 both going at it tooth and nail. Kinney setting the fastest lap of the race down in 6th position. He's looking to try and challenge Cam for that 5th position. He's had a very good recovery drive from 11th position after taking that engine penalty. So got to give fair play to Kinney for that one. The same with Mr. Zontal as well, with that wing damage. He got it repaired and is now sitting in 7th position.
Yep. Yeah, it's showing really good pace, you have to say. Compromised by that wing damage, and yeah, all these XP3 guys have had issues today, but they have shown great pace here. But yeah, the hard, judging by Jess and Walkery, the hard tyre was the wrong choice. It's just too slow. As Morgan's a bit further back this time, Walkery now gets a penalty himself, and yeah, Papa a bit more comfortable this lap for him.
Yeah, it certainly will do. So let's have a look. Morgan versus Papasquanch once again. Solau starting to close up that gap as Kinney gets the move done on Cam in towards the DRS zone as well. So Kinney's now up into 5th position, 5.5 seconds separating himself and Larkin for a 4th position. Larkin is out of contention for the podium for sure. He's still in contention with the championship, but it's really now on the very limit with him, and same with Solau. So I think these two that are battling for the championship at the moment, I think it's all to play for between these two and who's going to come out on top.
Yeah, what Larkin and Sal need, they need these guys DNFing races. I don't see that happening, to be honest with you. These guys should get podiums for the rest of the season. At least between these two now, and Papa, if Papa can hold on here, he's going to have a massive advantage last 2 races. He's going to have to. He can just finish second last 2 races and win the championship here. So Morgan has to get this move done, I think, really. He has to get this move done. He won't want an 8-point gap after tonight.
No, he certainly won't. So let's have a look and see. As DRS now, of course, going to be open once again for the Aston Martin. He's a lot closer this time around to the Williams in the lead of that race. The Aston Martin is going to try and maybe go down the inside. Papasquanch was looking to go a bit defensive, but no, Morgan's actually going to opt to go around the outside. Going to try and go for, once again, another switch back on the Williams. Taps the back of the car once again. I don't think he's gotten wing damage again, so he's managed to get away with that. But he's now going to try and go for another switch back on the double right-hander. A little bit of contact between the pair of them. A little bit of wheel banging in the back right of the Williams, and he's now going to go once again for a switchback on the Williams driver, and is not going to be close enough to getting anything done. So yeah, once again, it's advantage Papasquanch.
Yeah, again, even more feisty there. These guys are so pelsy close to having a contact and a spin there, but just about managing to keep it just about on the limit there. And yep, I think Morgan is quicker, but Papa is defending really well here, and yeah, Morgan is going to have to just... He hasn't got much battery left here. If he's going to save a bit of battery and go for attack later on, they both got similar levels of battery here. So yeah, Morgan is going to... It's going to be difficult Morgan to make a move stick here, because Papa seems to really have really good traction, which is crucial on this circuit.
Yeah, he certainly does. So Morgan now just going to have to try and line up another move on Papasquanch. Is he going to do it on the DRS zone again? Is he going to try and go around the outside? Is he going to opt to go on the inside? Only time will tell after this next corner. They've both had a very good drive, significantly ahead of everybody else, but Solau is closing that gap significantly. He's now only 5 seconds behind these top two. And not only that, Kinney is now only 3.7 behind Larkin. So Larkin, really struggling in these dry conditions in comparison. Morgan, by the way, also, did not manage to get the move done.
Also, Cam is stalking Kinney as well. So Larkin's at the moment under threat of finishing 6th place, which I think will definitely, probably, not mathematically, but will realistically eliminate him from a championship contention.
Yeah, no, I'll be inclined to agree with you on that as well. So, yeah, hopefully Larkin can try and find a couple of extra attempts in his pocket that he can for these final remaining 4 laps. Again, still going on between these top 2. It's the closest battle on the field, other than the battle all the way from 9th downwards, as they're all in a nice little DRS train being led by Waze. Have to check the penalty situation in just a short moment as well, because I'm intrigued as to who's got what. Morgan, though, still behind Papa Squanch in towards turn 1. German's still going to be leading out ahead of the Brit in the Aston Martin. And I think Morgan, he needs to try and pick the correct time. At the moment, Papa Squanch is doing everything right and putting his car in the right places. But Morgan needs to try and pick the perfect place to get this move done. With obviously 3 laps left to go, you've still got a bit of time. But he needs to try and get it done sooner rather than later, I reckon.
Yeah, you won't want to leave it too late, because if he does, then Papa would just get even more feisty. So he's getting feisty already, but now he'll be getting even more. Morgan's a good exit there through the hit down the back straight. But I'd say Papa Squanch straight line speed, not even using back really. Just look, Papa Squanch just seems to have quite decent straight line speed there. So as you mentioned, it's not going to be easy for Morgan. He's going to have to send him inside, so he's going to have to do a dive, because that's the only way really, because Papa looks unflappable at the moment.
Yeah, he certainly does, a little bit further on behind. Jess got the move done on Waze for 9th position. Rich then also got the move done on Waze down in towards turn 1 for 10th position. So Waze on the verge of losing out a points position for this evening. He did pick up another 3-second time penalty going through the S section, so I don't think he will be picking up any points. Very unfortunate, as it was a very good start for the Ferrari in this race in the wet conditions. Of course, he's still got DRS onto the back of Rich and Jess. Rich, no penalties. Welsh Benjamin, no penalties. And Rich now gets the move done on Jess as well. Wade's going defensive on Catherine for that 11th position. And I think it's just going to have to wait and stay behind is the McLaren. Moqui and Welsh Benjamin still side by side with one another as well. And the Welshman being able to hold on ahead of the Hungarian just behind him. So, yeah, Moqui just going to have to sit behind for the time being. Let's have a look at penalty situations. So, Jess has 10 seconds worth of penalties after speeding in the pit lane. Waze has 16 seconds worth of penalties. I'm assuming he also sped in the pit lane, because I don't know how else you get 16 seconds worth of penalties. As I say that, Jess actually comes into the pits. So she's looking to go for the fastest lap point and get rid of that 10-second penalty, which I do not blame her for doing whatsoever. And then, yeah, everybody else 3 seconds, Mikey 6 seconds, Catherine 6 seconds. So it is really... Welsh Benjamin will get points. Waze will just about... No, he won't get a point actually. He'll jump back behind Moqui.
No, so drop out, yeah.
Yeah. Waze needs to get a bit more of a move
pitted as well for... Moqi's pitted as well for the soft tyres. If I was Moqui, I'd have stayed out. Because I thought he could have got a point there by staying out. Jake's pitted as well, so we're going to have a three-way battle for a fast lap point at the end as well. So it's going to be great to see as Morgan's within 3 tenths of Papa. He got only 1/10 out of turn 1 last time round. He's a bit close this time, and yeah, Morgan's going to have to go for it. He's going to have to send it here. He's got no other option.
Yeah, he's definitely got no option. Nick just asking in the chat just why did Jess pit. I think she had a 10-second penalty, Nick, and wanted to get rid of it and go for the fastest lap point. Otherwise, she was pretty much on the verge of not finishing with any points for this evening. So at least that way she can have an opportunity of getting a point. But Jacob also pitting might throw that one away. We're on to the final lap of this absolute enthralling race. And I was saying Qatar last week was probably the best race of the season so far, but I think COTA has definitely topped it for me. This battle with these top two has been absolutely insane. And again, it's at the moment advantage to Papa Squanch, but Morgan is going to have a dosing of the DRS down this next straight. Is the Aston Martin going to be able to get this move done on the Williams? Is Papa Squanch going to be able to hold on ahead of Morgan? Morgan got a much better exit on that corner. He's now going to be using his battery. They're both going to be using their battery. DRS, of course, now open for Morgan, but not much battery left for the Aston Martin. I think Papa Squanch has gotten away with it. Morgan's now going to have to try and get it done in a corner. at any corner that he possibly can. Maybe at these double right-handers. No, he doesn't manage to get it done. Papa Squanch is being able to hold on so far. Is Morgan going to be able to go and dive it up the inside? He does go up the inside. It's towards the left-hander. A bit of wheel banging between the pair of them. Papa not going to be too happy that had happened. And he's now going to try and go for it again at the triple right-handers. But I think Papa's just going to have to hold on behind. Maybe a potential controversial ending as Salah picks up another 3-second penalty. A bit of a controversial ending for them, but Morgan is going to come across the line to take the win this evening and put that gap down to 2 points in the standings between the pair of them. It was a race of attrition between them and manages to take the win this evening.
Yeah, definitely, but I won't be shocked if Papa put that in the stewards room. I'm not sure what they'll think of it there, but yeah, I don't think Papa will be too happy with that. Yeah, but Morgan at the moment does take the win, and the gap's down to 2 points. That was crucial. Morgan had to win that race, and he's doing it at the moment. But will he keep it as a Solo gets third? A good point for him. Well done for him. Good race, good pace. But a bit too far back in the grid to really be a threat for the front. I think Salah was probably the quickest driver in the dry part of the race there, but it was too far back. Kinney in fourth. Larkin does hang on to fifth, only 5 attempts ahead of Cam. Rizonto 7th, Rich up to 8th, Mikey 9th, Benjamin 10th, Catherine 11th. Waste does get a point in 12th. And now, who is going to get the fast lap out of these guys at back? We'll find out. Wilkie will say it at first, and then we'll see if Jacob or Jess can improve on it.
So Moku 135.2 for the Hungarian. Jess is all over the back of Jacob as well. Did she manage to get an advantage of the DRS? No, she did not. So Jacob does take the fastest lap point. Larkin said that he got a puncture at the wet/dry crossover, which is why he had to pit a few laps early. So he actually picked up a puncture, which caused that to happen for him. So it was a good job that he did pit when he did. But fourth position, you know what? For Larkin, you got to say fair play on that one. Yeah, what an absolutely enthralling race there, Jamie.
Yeah, Larkin lost about 10 seconds by pitting up early, I think. Now, so yeah, a decent career for him, another top 5. And he's still in a position to fight for Salah for third in the championship there. But yeah, I think now we can definitely call it a 2-horse race for championship there. A great battle there between them two. And yeah, I wouldn't be, I'll be shocked if Papa didn't put that in the steward's office. But we'll wait and see what stewards make of it. But yeah, at the moment, it is Morgan's race win.
Yeah, it certainly is. So Morgan takes a win for this evening. Papa Squanch in second, Salah in third, Kinney fourth, Larkin in fifth, Cam in sixth, sorry, Zontal in seventh, Rich in eighth, Mikey in ninth. Welsh Benjamin manages to get himself in the top 10 and get a couple of points to his name for the Alpines as well. Catherine in 11th, Wade's picking up the final points position in 12th, Moku 13th, Jacob in 14th, Jess in 15th, Rich in 16th, and Mike in 17th. Both are DNFers of Rich and Iverbryn Mike. And fastest lap outside top 10 or outside top 12 is Jacob, so he will pick himself up an extra point as well for this evening. Gotta ask, Jamie, we've got to be very quick about this because P1 should have started 5 minutes ago. Yeah. Who is your driver of the day, and what would you like to ask him for this evening?
Oh my God, that's really tough to call. That is a really tough one. I'm gonna go with. I'll go with Kinney, I guess. 4th place, good sort for him. Obviously, great qualifying lap, pole position by quite a lot. Had a difficult first stint, but did well. Got 4th, great pace at the end there. I'm gonna say Kinney, well done. Good result. Do you think you could have got a podium with a better start because you lost a lot of places there at the start?
Yeah, no, I agree. And I've got to say, for my driver of the day, I've got to give it over to... I wish I could give it to both of them, but I'm going to have to give it over to Morgan. I feel like I've voted nearly every single week for driver of the day, but I think, again, he is deserving of it. Him and Papa Squanch are both deserving of it, but I think due to the fact that Morgan actually won the race only just on the last lap, I think he has to go as my sim racing driver of the day. Excuse me. My question over to Morgan, as my voice is almost gone. My question over to Morgan is, now that you've managed to get that win under your belt, with 2 races left to go, do you see yourself winning this championship with a 2-point gap between yourself and Papa Squanch? Or is it going to come down to Brazil? And who will take... do you think that you'll be able to get that jump back on Papa Squanch going into Brazil, or do you think Papa will have the advantage going out of Mexico and into Brazil as well? So, bit of a long question, but hey, yeah, that's
That's
our
fine.
sim racing driver of the days for this evening. Any final thoughts, really quickly, Jamie, before we wrap it up?
Yeah, good race. I enjoyed that. Good battling through the field. I really enjoyed that, and obviously I've got a comment. Mike, especially me, said the reason why he retired because he had a wheel issue, he had no force feedback and 900 degree rotation. That's why he retired. But yeah, anyway, I enjoyed that, and the championship battle gets ever closer now. And now I've got a 2-horse race, and it's anybody's. This is quite incredible. Obviously, we'll keep an eye out for the stewards' results on Wednesday because Papa has confirmed he's going to put it in, so wait and see what they think of that. But if it stands, it's a 2-point gap, and it's going to be quite incredible to see these guys fight it to the end. And I'll leave you to it. And best luck in your P1 race tonight, J. Cole.
Thank you very much for that one. So thank you everyone for tuning in for this evening. As I say, make sure you guys are tuned in to the P1 stream, which is about to be done by Jess and Salal. I say for the P1 side of things, hopefully I will actually do well in the P1 side, unlike last week. And then, of course, for next week, again, same time at 4:30 p.m. UK time for the Mexico race for ourselves. Clocks do go back as well in the UK, so it'll be 4:30 p.m. GMT for Mexico next week. Make sure you guys are tuned in. Of course, 3 p.m. GMT for P3 and 6 p.m. GMT for P1. So thanks everyone for tuning in for this evening. Catch you guys next week for round number 11 around Mexico.